hardcore violence, bloody battles, and line-crossing wild action. This is the 10 most brutal WWE and AEW moments of all time. Get in the comments and let us know what you think. Number 10, Mankind versus The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. Arguably one of the most violent and infamous matches in televised wrestling history. Undertaker threw Mankind off the top of the cell, causing him to crash violently through a table in a genuinely disturbing moment that sucked the air out of the arena. Mankind's visible injuries, which occur just very quickly into the entry stage of the match, such as losing a tooth, heavy internal bleeding, clear signs of a concussion, made it difficult to distinguish the performance from actual harm. For what fans thought was going to be a match stopping abruptly, unlikely became a hardcore, hellacious path through even more pain as Mankind would get off the stretcher, return to the top of the cell, and continue to battle with The Undertaker, only to be slammed through the top of the cell to the ring below, and an even harder Undertaker would continue to beat down on Mankind. Even though The Undertaker himself was working with a prone ankle, it was Mankind who came out of this match a much different person. Undertaker would win, but Mankind would become a legend. Mick Foley made his name forever in a losing effort. Number 9, Darby Allin sets Jack Perry on fire. The devilish Darby Allin setting Jack Perry on fire made quite the moment at AEW Double or Nothing 2024. Allin brought a flamethrower into the Anarchy in the Arena match and lit Perry on fire, creating a moment that looked genuinely dangerous, not just theatrical. The use of real fire evokes instinctive fear in anyone because fire is unpredictable. Fire doesn't work. Yeah, and it's just not hard to understand why that's crazy. Many viewers, casual hardcore wrestling fans, had to feel uneasy watching someone appear to be burned. The shocking imagery lingered because it wasn't just a bump or a weapon strike. It was a human being engulfed in flame, pushing the envelope of violence into a very, very different blurry line. Number 8, Kane sets Jim Ross on fire. Yes, the pyrotechnics continue. And another pyromaniac has to be the big red demon himself, Kane. In his early years in WWE, he put his despised brother, The Undertaker, in a casket and lit it on fire. In 2003, Kane removed his mask, evolving the look of his character, and became even more unpredictable and menacing. He believed everyone was mocking him behind his back, leading to outbursts towards others. On the July 14th episode of Raw that year, good old Jim Ross, the beloved commentator, interviewed Kane. JR tried to calm him down, explaining that his friends like Rob Van Dam and Stone Cold Steve Austin and the WWE fans didn't care about his face now that he didn't have a mask. This only enraged him even more. He assaulted Jim Ross and poured gasoline all over him, lighting him on fire. Yes, with Austin not in the same location, looking on in horror as medics rushed to the scene to help Jim Ross. It was a wild scene, a scripted one in a controlled environment, but still. Number 7, Britt Baker's busted face. Britt Baker, a real-life dentist getting her face busted open in her unsanctioned Lights Out match, was quite the visual with Thunder Rosa. The brutality went to another level that we've not seen women in particular, no shot at the women, but we haven't seen a lot of this, go there. From early on, both women took extreme punishment with ladders, chairs, tables, and even thumbtacks. Baker's face became visibly bloodied as the match progressed, creating a raw crimson mask that many fans weren't used to seeing, especially from a woman, on mainstream wrestling television. The intensity of the weapons and the physicality, the toll that they put on each other, even in a choreographed performance, showed genuine harm, triggering uneasiness and the reaction with the excitement. It was one of the best AEW matches that year. Number 6, Kane electrocutes Shane McMahon's family jewels. Yeah, Kane is a very, very sick individual. One of the most infamous heels in WWE history for many good reasons, and here's one. However, this version of him that was unmasked, as we mentioned in 2003, really is probably even more violent than the one that had a mask on. Unhinged, unpredictable, and sadistic to say the least. In September of that year, Kane attacked a returning Shane McMahon on Raw. He not only blindsided Shane, but also tortured him in extremely inhumane ways. He electrocuted Shane McMahon's manhood after handcuffing him to the ring post. Shane was saved from further torment and electrocution by his former tag team partner Rob Van Dam, who attacked Kane with a steel chair to stop him. The notorious segment is still remembered by many fans who want to immediately protect themselves in a very specific area. Number 5, Edge suplexes Moxley on a spiked bat. Yes, Edge, Adam Copeland, suplexing a man who loves himself some hardcore violence, Jon Moxley, onto a spiked bat is one of the most jaw-dropping, just why did they agree to do that moments in recent AEW memory. Copeland brought out the vile spiked bat after battering Moxley when he lifted him and drove him directly down onto the jagged nails. The spikes were literally embedded into Moxley's back, drawing a loud gasp and groan from the live crowd as they watched the weapon sticked into his flesh. The danger and pain was undeniable. It was raw, graphic. Fans online said it looked like the spikes could rip skin off. Many called it one of the wildest suplex spots they've ever seen on TV. Number 4, everything Brock Lesnar did to Zach Gowen. The big, brutal, menacing Brock Lesnar had a feud with the one-legged underdog Zach Gowen on WWE television that was shockingly intense. During their SmackDown match, Lesnar unleashed a savage assault, hammering Gowen down with a steel chair, showing no hesitation in using weapons to wear him down even though he didn't need them for the match. He repeatedly bashed the smaller man with ruthless force during the Ruthless Aggression days, turning the early encounter into a physical beating rather than a standard match. Lesnar slammed Gowen with multiple F5s, including an unforgiving one to the ring post, underscoring his raw power and just complete lack of mercy. The visuals were brutal and uncomfortable to take in. Lesnar didn't have enough. There was another moment that stood the test of time where Lesnar pushed a wheelchair-bound Gowen down a flight of stairs. Number 3, Darby Allin swanton bombs onto real glass. Darby Allin's dive through real glass at AEW Revolution was one of those savage bumps that really takes your breath away. The match was a wild one, seeing Darby Allin tag team with Sting in his farewell match against the evil and despised Young Bucks. Launching his body from the top of a ladder, head over heels into a swanton bomb, that's not fake candy glass. It crashed through, cutting his back badly, leaving it ripped to shreds with hundreds of cuts, bleeding heavily, needing stitches afterwards. The sight of Darby's body hitting and passing through the sharp edges made the crowd wince. Even AEW president Tony Khan called the spot too much, given how real and brutal it looked. Number 2, Eddie Guerrero cuts an artery. At WWE Judgment Day 2004, Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero's bitter issues with JBL became so infamous and so dramatic that their violent bloodshed went really far. Maybe the bloodiest match in WWE history, after JBL blasted Eddie with a steel chair. Hardcore wrestling fans know that wrestlers blade themselves, but apparently Eddie really did it this time. And the cut went pretty deep, maybe even into an artery, causing blood to pour out uncontrollably. The sight was shocking. His face became a complete red mask. The blood kept flowing in gushes. Even WWE producers found it intense, leading Guerrero to receive stitches and medical care afterwards. It wasn't just a theatrical splash of color, it was real, deep, arterial blood. And that made the spot one of the most brutal and just hard to comprehend. Yeah, they're gonna put a black and white filter on that one. Number 1, Toni Storm and Mariah May get bloody. Yeah, if you don't agree with number 1, you watched this far, let us know your number 1 in the comments below. At AEW Revolution 2025, timeless Toni Storm took on her former protege that turned her back on her as they tore down the house in a Hollywood-ending Falls Count Anywhere match that went so far beyond the typical women's bout. Both women bled heavily after weapon-assisted spots, including glass, chairs, pile drivers onto hard surfaces, leaving them crimson and exhausted by the finish. Storm was busted open. May, who now goes by Blake Monroe in WWE NXT, soaked in blood as the fight spilled over ringside, making the visuals even more intense directly in front of fans. It was unprecedented for women to be featured in this level of violence, unfiltered, on mainstream's wrestling stage. With the brutality and bloodshed more reminiscent of hardcore male matches, sorry, that's just the fact, it was just so much to process. It is easily one of the most violent women's matches in televised history.